Hi everybody, Mary here. We're back again for another stretch class. So it's going to be a little bit different today. I'm going to do a lot of work with sitting on a chair. So hopefully you have two chairs that you can gather. I've got two folding chairs behind me that I'm going to get to in just a little bit. But if you have those, great. If not, that's still great. We can do these stretches on the floor. The chairs will just help out a little bit. So if all you have is one regular chair, a dining room chair, if you have two dining room chairs, that will work. Just two steady chairs is all you need. And then go ahead and get your trusty trigger ball and your strap or your long towel, something that you can reach around your foot and stretch with, and then your foam roller. So again, we're going to start with 10 minutes of doing your foam rolling. However you want to start, I'm just going to start with the top down tonight. So go ahead and begin. If you know where you're really sore, go ahead and start working those areas. Otherwise, I'm going to start working a little bit with trigger ball and kind of down the outside of the shoulder. So you want to stay off the bones, you want to stay off of the joints, but anywhere it's fleshy, you can use that trigger ball, press down into it and rub into it a little bit, or just hold it in one place and press down as hard as you can to help that spot release. Sometimes if you're really tight through the neck, there's something connecting down to the arm that makes that tight. So if you take the ball and just press into like the base of the neck and hold it there for a few moments and then move it down a little bit and press down and continue that press and hold, work it all the way down the side to the shoulder, and come onto the outside of that arm and start pressing it down the outside of the arm or wherever you feel there's some tension, and just work it all the way down till you get all the way down to your lower forearm area. Sometimes it helps release tension going on in the neck. You can also take this across the chest area to get into the pec muscles. So work it from the center of the chest below that notch at the bottom of your neck out to the side. Again, you don't want to get onto the shoulder joint itself, but you can release some of that pressure and get into the front side of your shoulder there, and maybe, you know, those all connect. So there might be something there that you can release. So again, just kind of work it out to the sides there. So all right, so we got the front of the shoulder, the middle shoulder, the back side of the shoulder. Sometimes it's hard to get to, but you can kind of work it back there. But the foam roller is great for that area. So if you get onto your side, you can kind of get on that shoulder muscle, not the joint, but the muscle. You can roll onto it that direction. Sometimes that works pretty well. I've got my arm tucked under here. You can roll back a little bit, get the back side of your shoulder there. And if you continue rolling onto your back, you're going to get into the shoulder blade area. So yeah, you can press right on that shoulder blade. Just work it to the top of the shoulder blade as well as to the bottom part of the shoulder blade. That's all good area to get into. And if it's really tight, you can kind of slide forward and back to help loosen it. You don't have to go just up and down. You can just pause in one place and just try to melt down as far as you can into that pressure to help it release. You could get more onto your back. So staying on the upper back area again. You keep your head elevated. You can put your hands back to help support your head if that works for you. Just rolling a little bit forward and back. I sometimes lift my hips up so I can roll a little bit better. But again, you want to make sure that you're not going below the shoulder blade because that gets into an unsupported area of your spine. So we want to stay on that rib cage area, the upper side of that rib cage area. Be careful of your lower ribs. Those are your floating ribs. We don't want to compromise those ribs by pressing on them too hard. And then once you finish that top area, you can also get more into the side. So that's going to be more into your latissimus dorsi muscle and also your serratus anterior muscle. Those just really talk to you when you do a lot of like overhead presses, or you might be doing some rear flies that trigger it. And kind of maybe oblique work is probably triggering some of that depending on how you're doing the oblique work. So anyway, that works really nice through that area there. You can get a little bit more onto the side, work it up into the armpit area. Again, not too much pressure, just enough you can kind of feel it release through there. And then if you want to get into your bicep muscle, it's a hard area to get into. That's where chairs come in handy. You can put that roller on the chair, and then you can put your arm on top and roll out and in, or you can kind of get yourself down on the floor here. to roll out and in onto that area as well, including the forearms, palms up. You can roll out sideways, palms down into that area there as well. So if you feel a lot of tension into the side back area, you can get on the side of the roller and just work on the fleshy part. Don't get right on the spine, not on the spine, but right to the side of it. And then you might be able to kind of work into that area there. You can, again, a little bit side to side, or just kind of press into that area, maybe roll it back. Your spine, roll your spine back a little bit if you're flexible that direction, feel comfortable with holding it there. Sometimes that tennis ball might work better too. It just depends what you're feeling as far as your tightness in that area. It's very pinpointed using that tennis ball. It's going to be very focused on the muscle that it gets into. So just make sure you're off with the spinal column and you kind of roll around a little bit there. Next area is going to be the very top of the hip bone. So right at the base of the spine where you start feeling, okay, so I feel muscle tissue here, but now I start feeling that bone. That's where you want to start. You can actually get onto that with the tennis ball. I've been showing you with the foam roller, but let me start with the ball here. Just lay all the way down, lift your hips, and then put that ball on the bone, but not on the vertebrae. Always stay off the vertebrae. But you can go from just the outside of the spine and out to the side of the muscle, or I should say outside of the bone, hip bone. So you can roll a little bit side to side there, or a little bit up and down, or just kind of stay and sink down into it. And then you might from there feel like, oh, my glute muscles are talking. So then you can start moving it down, and you can turn your leg out and in. The knee can be straight, or the knee can be bent or straight, and roll it out and in that way too. So that might help a little bit with that as well. If you're using that foam roller, let's see here. Let's see if we can get on top of this. Sitting on top here and then kind of rolling down a little bit. Hands behind to help support you. Don't want to be on the sit bones, but you want to be on that hip bone area because there's muscles that run across the top of or the outside of the bone, hip bone. So that's where you want to kind of target. Again, you can kind of go side to side. You can kind of go up and down. You'll feel that spot, but remember, stay off the vertebrae. I can't say that enough. And then when you get on top of this, you can kind of roll forward a little bit, and that might get a little bit into some muscle tissue in your buttocks, or you can roll a little bit onto one side. You could turn sideways on here. Kind of roll up and down on the outside of your hips. See how that feels? And then from here, we can work down into the hamstrings. One or both legs on top. So as you roll through this, all the way up into the buttocks and all the way back down. And you want to stop just before you get behind the knee bend area. So forward and back, that works really nice. If you want to do one leg at a time, just slide the roller off to the side, put one leg on it, and roll forward and back. Sometimes it works for some people to cross the leg over so that you get a little more weight onto that leg to press down into your foam roller. It's usually doesn't work with the tennis ball. It's just not big enough to get into that muscle tissue on the backside. So if you don't have a foam roller, if you elevate this on a hard platform like a yoga block or any other kind of a box that's solid, you would elevate it enough that you could get your leg to feel that. So if I was using this as a platform, I could put the ball there and put this on top, and then I could move around a little bit, and then that's how you'll feel it if you don't have that foam roller. Otherwise, use your foam roller. Next, outside of the thigh, that IT band. Some people like that foam roller for using this. Make sure you support yourself on that leg and roll one direction and the other, going slow. I'm kind of going fast just so I can get through all of these here. You probably know what works best for you. Not too much pressure on here because that could damage your IT band. Don't use your tennis ball laying on it. You could get on your side and then roll down the outside of it. Now your knee is probably going to be hanging up a little bit, so put something underneath to support it, and then you can rub to your heart's desire all the way down that IT band from the hip down to the outside of the knee. You could also get into the back side, that hamstring, if you found a spot you needed to work a little more. You could rotate the knee up, work through the quadricep. You can work it through this way. You can use the heel of your hand, rub it down. You can rub it back in. Go both directions because it feels differently. You can use two hands on one leg too. Then you can roll your knee to the outside, use that ball on the inner thigh area, or again, the heel of the hand. You can rub through that as well. You might feel more using the heel of the hand. It just depends. So all kinds of tools we can use here. And then when you get down to the calf area, again, you can use that tennis ball. That's going to get a little bit more pinpointed into what you're feeling there. You could use that foam roller. You can do both legs at the same time. You can do one leg at one time. And then you can cross at the ankles to give a little more pressure. Again, you don't have to continually roll. Just get to the point where you feel something that's kind of tender and sore. You can go side to side. You can go forward and back a little bit. With the feet, you can put a foot on top. If you have two tennis balls, you can do both feet at the same time. Roll forward and back. Roll side to side. Press the heel down, back of the heel. Staying off that Achilles tendon right above the ankle or the heel area. Don't press on that part. Spread your toes apart. Put your finger between each toe so it gets a nice little stretch sideways for your toes, because they do stretch that way, and we need to keep them healthy, believe it or not. Stretching your toes is healthy for your whole foot, healthy for your whole leg. So make sure you stretch them out. And then last but not least, quadriceps. So if you're using the foam roller, you can get your legs on top, roll one direction and the other. You could do one leg at a time, one leg off to the side, forward and out. You could turn this foam roller parallel to you, bend your knee, put your inner thigh on there, roll out and in. That's always fun. And then last thing for your quads, you could just use that tennis ball, find a spot that you found with that foam roller that you really want to get into, and just let your muscles melt onto that ball. Just kind of sink into it there. And that should feel pretty good. So we're doing this so that we can release that fascia that covers the muscle, so that the muscle itself can stretch really, really well too when we get into our stretches. So if we find that while we're doing a certain stretch that you're just really tight and you think rolling it is going to help, go ahead and pause the video, do some more foam rolling, and then when you feel pretty good with that, come back and start that stretch again and see if that feels any better. It does make a huge difference. It really, really does. You may not be able to tell, but certain stretches you try to get into, it'll tell you there that, wow, if I just did a little foam rolling, then it's going to get a little bit more flexible for me to stretch it. It does work. All right, take a few more moments to get that all stretched out with that fascia, get that to release in there. And then we're going to start with using the chairs to get our stretches going. So again, if you don't have the chairs, that's okay. You can do all of this on the floor. So I'll talk you through all of this. Hopefully it won't be too much up and down. That's not my plan. My plan is to stay on the chairs for a while. So I'm going to get back here and get settled in. Go ahead and bring your strap with you just in case you need that. You can keep your foam roller close by as well. We're not going to use it a whole lot, but just have it available for you. All right, so getting onto the chairs. Oh, if you have your blanket, go ahead and kind of keep that within arm's reach there as well. All right, so let's start first with the wrists. So we're going to sit nice and tall. Try to sit a little bit on the edge of your chair there so you can sit up tall. And just rotate your wrist around one way. Open the fingers wide and just leave with that pinky finger around one direction. And you can keep a little bend in the elbow. They don't have to be really straight. And then relax and go the other direction. All right, shake them out a little bit. Link your fingers together. Push your palms towards me, straightening out your arms. Now tuck under your tailbone, chin to chest. It's a little bit of a cat back. Feel like your belly is pulling in to your spine as you round your shoulders forward, chin to your chest. Get that nice stretch that direction. Feel that stretch through the back of the neck. Take a breath and release. Hands to your thighs. Sit up nice and tall. And let's do one more cat back without the finger stretches. So tuck under your tailbone, chin to chest, round your spine, shoulders forward, squeeze the chest together. Inhale, come back upright. Shoulder rolls up and back a couple times. Now let's take the arms to the sides and lift them overhead. Link your fingers together, press the palms out and away. Nice stretch up. So I want your rib cage to lift away from your hips. Lift as tall as you can. Lift your shoulders up towards your ears. Stretch up the palms to the sky. Take a deep breath. As you exhale, release your shoulders down away from the ears. Now a little bend to one side. You choose which way you go. And come back center and little bend the other way. And I'm just going to keep going a little bit side to side. Not a huge stretch, just a little bit to kind of see how the spine is reacting today. Take a deep breath in and out as you move. We try to breathe in and out through the nose best we can. Let's take one more stretch each direction. And then come back to the center. Release your arms out to the sides and down. Shoulder rolls up and back a couple times. Let's place the hands behind. Hold on to the sides of the chair. You can see here, I've got one side here, other side there. Place your feet out a ways from you. We're going to bend forward so we can stretch the collarbones open, holding onto the chair. So you might want to have your hands a little bit lower or a little higher, just depends how you get into this, what you need to do to adjust it. So as you come forward, now I'm stretching, I'm going to turn sideways. And just come forward. You want to feel the shoulders come down away from the ears. So again, adjust your arms where you can feel that downward pull. Feel that downward pull. Feel the shoulder blades come down the spine. And then maybe take your chin to your chest a little bit and see how that feels through the neck. Straight down with the head first. Now bring the head up a little bit. Can you keep the arms there, but lean a little bit one direction so you have more pull on one arm. And then take your ear to the opposite shoulder just a little bit. You're going to have a tremendous amount of stretch there through the neck and through the arm. And then come back to the center. Take an inhale through your nose. Stay here. Exhale through your nose. Still stretching forward. Now let's go the other direction. Kind of pull away from the opposite arm just enough that you feel a good stretch. And then take your ear to the opposite shoulder. When you do your stretches, you're not wanting to pull just as crazy as you can. You want to go to where you feel a gentle pull and give your muscles a moment to feel the stretch. And then when they release, if they release, you can go a little bit deeper if that feels right, but sometimes that's just not going to work. And slowly bring the head back to the center. Equal pull on both sides of the arms forward. Chin to your chest again. Back with the next stretch. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your nose. And slowly come back up. Bring the head up. And then the spine comes up. Shoulder rolls up and back. Take the arms back a little bit. Feel that stretch, that direction. All right, so now let's go into a little bit of a twist. So feet flat on the floor. Spine is tall. We're going to put the hand onto some part of the chair here. Put the other hand to the opposite knee and do a little twist. So this hand is pushing into your leg. This hand's kind of helping you turn, however that means for you to hold onto the chair. Maybe it's going behind the chair and pulling towards you so you can twist a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. You can kind of feel things move in there. The goal is that the hips stay forward. They don't turn, but we turn the ribs, we turn the shoulders, and then if we can, we turn the head, the chin, going to the back shoulder. So you can do a little bit of an exhale, turn, inhale, light release, and then exhale, turn a little bit more, inhale, release. So go slow with that. We're going to stay here another 3 breaths. Just to kind of see how that spine is liking that twist. And then we'll relax it back to the center. Take your time, shoulder rolls up and back, kind of move around a little bit if you need to. Again, stretch those arms any direction that feels right for you. And then we'll turn the other way. So place your hand to the opposite outside knee, and then take your hand behind you on that chair. You're going to, again, use it for leverage so we can get the turn, the twist. Turn your ribs, turn your shoulders, turn your chin over towards that shoulder. And then you can bring your chin towards the shoulder if that feels right. Then as you breathe in, release your twist a little bit. As you exhale, twist a little bit more. And just continue with that. Slow inhale, release. Full exhale, twist. Just a little bit of twist, not too much. Again, you just want to kind of see how things feel on this side of the body. And let's release. Let's come back to the center and take your time. Kind of readjust everything in there. Maybe round your spine a little bit. Maybe sit up tall. Reach the spine up and back. All right, so pretty much everything we've just done you can do on the floor. This might be a little harder to do on the floor, but if you have something back there to hold on to, you could do that. Now we're going to place, I'm going to turn facing you a little bit here. Place one hand on the side of the chair. Now I don't have a lot of room here, so maybe you just tuck your fingers underneath that thigh a little bit. We're going to take the other arm up to the sky. If you're on the floor, reach your arm out as far as you can. We're going to reach up and over. So if your hand is there, just use it to help support your body. That's what it's for, to help support your spine. Reach the arm up and over. Feel the side ribs lift away from your hips. A little bit deeper stretch than what we started with. And turn your chin towards the floor. Stay there for a breath or two. And then you can slowly, slowly turn your chin towards the sky and just see how that feels. If you're looking up, can you roll the top shoulder back a little bit and see if that changes what you feel? Take some deep breaths. Maybe stretch your arm back a little bit. Maybe that feels better. Maybe with your arm back, you want your chin facing the floor. It all works. Whatever feels good for you is what we're ideally going to get into. Let's take one more breath. Stay here as you exhale to engage your core. Then press through your hand on the floor or the chair. Bring yourself back up. Release this arm down to the side. Shoulder rolls. Help release everything. We're going to do this the other direction. So again, if you're on the chair, if you don't have room, just tuck it underneath your thigh there a little bit. If you're on the floor, reach your arm out to the side, put it on the floor. Other arm reaching up high and over. So actually, if you have your second chair there, you could put your hand on the chair and press into it and reach up and over. And again, chin towards the floor, feel that stretch. If your chin is up towards the sky, or eventually when you get there, roll the shoulder open, arm can stretch up to the sky, the arm can stretch back. Just see what feels good on the stretch here. Again, we're lifting the opposite rib away from the shoulder for this stretch. And then the hand on the floor presses down to the floor, bring yourself up. Release that hand back down. And roll the shoulders out. All right, take a little movement side to side so everything feels pretty good in there. We're going to start working on the hips a little bit. So if you're on the floor, you might want to bend one knee across the other ankle over. And if that's uncomfortable, lay on your back. I'll show you in just a moment. But if you're seated, keep the foot flexed always because the knee is bent and we are rotating at the hip. We're going to press that knee down. You can add a lean forward a little bit into that. So if you're on the floor, you can start seated. You can cross it over. Again, that foot's flexed. Or you can lay all the way down onto the floor and press the knee away. Maybe that feels better. So if that works for you, go with that. All right, so I'm going to get back onto the chair. So again, when you're seated, wherever you are, when you happen to have a seat, if you are wanting to cross your legs, this is a much better cross of the legs than this. This shortens muscles that we're trying to stretch in the hips. So anytime you can, I understand there's times we need to cross the legs this way, but try to sit in this position and just kind of gently press that hand into the knee to help it stay a little bit open. Now you will feel a difference if you're kind of rounded in the spine or if you're sitting tall. So I always encourage sit tall when you're doing this stretch. You might even kind of go one direction and little kind of pulsing in one direction. You might go a little bit the other way, and you can do this seated on the floor or on your back. Just take your knee a little bit further one direction or the other, and you'll feel more or less stretch with this. Again, come forward if you are seated, so you get a little more stretch into that hip area against your hip that you feel stretching. Adjust your foot wherever it is on that thigh so that it feels comfortable too. We'll take 2 more deep breaths. Make sure that breath is coming down to the belly, into your side ribs. And let's relax out of this. So we're going to uncross that leg, take it out. You can straighten it out. You can roll it, do whatever feels good for that muscle in that hip to relax. Rolling, I mean like turning your foot side to side. Let your knee and toe travel so you're rotating at the hip. All right, so the other side. Cross the ankle over, and your knee might start high. That's okay. We're just going to hold out here for a little bit so we can relax it down. Again, this is when it feels good to kind of just take a moment to kind of shimmy through their hips a little bit to get into the right position. Make sure, again, that foot is flexed. Again, if you're on the floor, you have yourself seated. Press that knee away, or you're on your back. Keep that other foot on the floor. Press that knee away. And then you can start moving that knee a little bit left, a little bit right, just to see how it feels. Kind of do little pulses one way or the other. See how that feels in there too. But as you work through it, hopefully it loosens a little bit for you. We'll be doing some other stretches. Hopefully that will help that hip open up. Lots of different directions for that leg. So when you feel sore in your hips, if you're not walking around, if you're not stepping sideways, if you're not just moving those legs in all different directions, that soreness is going to stay with you a lot longer than if you're moving through the hips. So definitely keep moving, keep stretching. It doesn't have to be an intense stretch, just enough that you can feel that muscle being tugged on a little bit. That's going to help work out that soreness. All right, so let's take another breath. Exhale through the nose, let it go. And let's uncross the legs here. All right, so this next one you can do on the floor or on the chair. So this might feel a little awkward if you have 2 chairs. If you don't have 2 chairs, you'll have to do this on the floor. But it's the butterfly stretch. So we're on the floor, your feet are together. Try to keep your feet flat and together, knees out to the sides. Comfortable distance away, wherever you feel a stretch, and you can use your hands on your ankles to pull yourself forward if that's going to help you. If you're on the chairs, if your chairs will work for this, maybe they'll work for this, but you're not comfortable doing it. That's okay too. Get on the floor, but you can bring your feet onto the chair, bring the chair in a close distance, and you can do it here too. So not to say you can't not ever do butterfly seated in a chair, but you can. Just depends what your chairs are. If the chairs don't allow this type of posture that gives you a good stretch, come onto the floor. That's not an issue. There's always options. And then as you work yourself through this, a little bit forward bend, you can do that. You can lean a little bit one direction or the other. Maybe that feels good too. And usually leaning to one side or the other will stretch a little bit more down through the low back, maybe onto your sides a little bit. So take some deep breaths in the nose, out the nose. Get that good little stretch going through there. Maybe close your eyes so you can feel the stretch more than see it. Sometimes we just want to feel the stretch. We don't need to see the stretch. Take one more deep breath. Exhale, let it go. And slowly press yourself up. Support your back that way. Bring those knees back together. All right, so we're going to extend one leg. So you might need to push that chair away a little bit if you need to. Keep a slight bend in the knees. So this is if you're on the chair. We're going to stretch forward. So this leg can go wherever it's comfortable. Let me slide back here a little bit. If you're on the floor, you'll have one leg out. Now, everybody, if you need your strap, go ahead and grab that. Let the strap will go around your foot if you want to use that. And then pull yourself forward. So sometimes this is a much better feeling because of where this leg can be, because our hips are just so tight. And some of us just have issues with the hips. Totally understand. So if you can, you're going to pull back on the strap so you can get your calf to stretch. So if you want to go a little bit longer on that stretch, you can do that. If you feel comfortable behind the knee, that's okay. Otherwise, you're going to put a slight knee bend into it, still pull back on the strap. Again, if you're on the floor, same thing with that leg. Put that strap around the ball of the foot. A little bit of a knee bend, pull it back, or totally straight leg and pull it back. This other knee goes where it's comfortable. It can be knee up or knee down, whatever works for you on that. Hold that stretch. Take some deep breaths because it's the breathing that helps the stretch continue. One more deep breath. Exhale, let go. All right, now if you're on the chair, I need you to bend that knee a little bit. We're going to come forward. So use your strap to help bring yourself forward. You kind of want to feel that tailbone tilt back a little bit, and that's a rotation into the hips that some of us just don't have the ability to do. So go where you can be and pull yourself forward. It might mean that you've got your knee bent a lot so you can feel that stretch in your hamstring. Maybe you've got your foot on the edge of the chair because that's where it's best for that stretch. So go where you need to be, hamstring, back of the thigh. If you're on the floor, again, just straight leg and bend forward. And you still might feel a lot of stretch into that calf. That's okay. Wherever you feel the stretch is good as long as it is a nice, good stretch for you. Again, it might feel a little bit strenuous. It might feel like, oh, this is so tight, but that's okay. That's why we stretch, so we get it loosened up a little bit. So if you pull into your stretch a little bit and then release a little bit, and if you get into that stretch and release, do that. Take a breath in before you get into the stretch. As you exhale, think of it as melting into your stretch. And then as you inhale, come out of it a little bit. We're going to do 4 more just like that. Breathe in. Exhale, melt in. These are long, deep breaths in and out. Inhale, release. Exhale, melt down. Inhale, release. Exhale, melt down. And one more. Inhale, release. Exhale, melt down. Press your hand into the floor, bring yourself up, relax there a little bit, maybe shake that leg out. On the floor, you're going to switch it to the other side, and you're going to start with the strap around the ball of the foot, so you can stretch through that calf. Again, legs straight. If you need to bend it a little bit, you can do that too. I'm going to come back up on the chair. So each side of the body is different. So depending how this side wants to react, see where we end up. All right, so pull the foot back. Feel that stretch into the calf muscle. A lot of times, if your calves are tight, it's going to make your hamstrings tight and your low back tight. So you may not be able to tell in the foot, but that's probably part of it as well. That's why you need to use the ball underneath your foot to relax those muscles. Everything's connected. There's nothing that says this is a separate muscle from the other, because that's not what they're finding. It's the fascia that truly connects everything together, and then each individual part inside that fascia has a little bit of influence on the other tissues that it connects to. So yeah, if it's in the foot, it could be the reason why your hips are feeling the way they are. So we want to stretch everything. Let's take another deep breath on this calf stretch. As we exhale, release. Now we're going to get into that hamstring. So bend that knee a little bit. That's only so we don't hyperextend it. We don't want to press down onto that leg. We want it a little bend so we can support it there. And then we'll lean forward into this and see how that feels. You can feel a lot of stretch even though that leg is not totally straight. And I know that some people say you need to have that leg straight so you feel the right portion of that muscle stretching. I believe wherever you feel the stretch, that's where you need to go. So if you feel it here or if you feel it here, that's where you go. That's where you need to have your release, so that everything else, when you start feeling less stretch here, you want to feel more, you straighten your leg out a little bit more, now you've got more stretch. So let's take those deep breaths in to release the stretch first, and then exhale, get into that stretch. Keep pulling on that strap. You can certainly keep stretching through that calf. You may or may not feel it, but that's fine. Inhale, release out of it. 4 more just like that. Exhale, get into it. Maybe forehead down is going to increase that stretch for you. Inhale, release. Exhale, stretch. Maybe the chin down to the chest is going to feel more of the back of the neck stretch. If you feel the stretch, do it. It doesn't have to be just your hamstring that stretches. Inhale, release. Exhale, get into the stretch. Just melt down best you can. Inhale, release. Exhale, melt down. Inhale, release. Slowly come back up and relax. Shake that out a little bit. All right, we're going to get into a little hips flexor stretch before we do another really deep hip flexor stretch. So showing you first here on the chair, you want to be a little bit sideways on it so that you can take one leg back. A little bit more sideways, and it might work actually better this way. Let's try it this way. There we go. So you can hold on to the back of the chair. So your knee is pretty much underneath your hip. We're just going to feel that hip roll forward, and the front of the hip is where you want to feel the stretch. Hold on to the back of the arm, or the back of the chair there. Your other hand, you can reach it up, you can reach it away from that back leg, and that might help give you more stretch. Just because, remember, everything's connected. So everything down here is going to be felt as you extend the arm up and away from it. So I'm just going to feel that stretch. See how that's going in there. You can always turn your chin up towards the sky. You can turn your chin down towards the floor. Again, a little added stretch for the neck. You might feel that. It might feel pretty good. Just go for it. Now, if you're on the floor, if you can get into an off floor, well, if you can get onto your knee and push your hip forward, great, because you'll feel it the same way. You just don't have yourself seated on a chair when you do it, but you can certainly be on the floor and do this. Make sure it's the front of the hip that you feel stretching. Take 2 more deep breaths wherever you are. When you're ready to come up, the arm lifts up, bring it down. Make sure you feel good. I'm going to come back onto the chair. This next one, we're going to keep the back of the foot pressed down. I'm going to slide up here a little bit. And then we're just going to press it down, kind of lean back a little bit. We're looking to stretch the shin, the front of that leg muscle, down into the top of the foot. So you're kind of leaning back on that to feel that stretch, pressing it down. If you're not on a chair, if you're standing, you'll have to come up to standing to feel this. Back toes go down, and then you can come down a little bit or to wherever you feel that stretch. You'll probably need to hold on to something to do this unless your balance is really good. You don't have to hold on to anything, but you're pressing the top of the foot down into the floor to get the front side of that foot, the top side, and your ankle and your shin to stretch. So that's another place you can be. So let's hold this for another breath. Exhale, let that go. Come on up. Shake out your ankle there a little bit. Now we're going to take the chairs so the seat is facing inwards. If you are not able to reach the seat of the chair very well, you can certainly turn them around this direction. We're going to come into a kind of a kneeling position, a little bit more upright with this, and we're going to work down. But I'm going to have you start up in case you are not able to get to the floor. I'm just going to move my mat out of the way here. So I'm going to start up here. I'm going to turn this a little bit more sideways here. All right, so that leg that you were stretching the hip flexor forward, we're still staying on that leg. So take that foot back, tuck those toes under, and then you're going to take your feet in a wide stance. So you move that chair out of the way. So wide stance here. You've got your chair over here. We're going to keep pushing the hips forward, arching up and back. So if you're good there, I need you to stay there, but we're going to keep working this down lower and lower. So if you can come down a little bit, so where your knee is really bent, this is where it helps to hold on to the chair. You've got your chair over here, this other chair is over here. You get down a little bit lower. Maybe you're all the way down on the floor. Like we did before, stretch it back. Just make sure we have that good stretch in there. Now we're going to have everybody come upright. Now we're going to come forward into this stretch. We're going to drop our hip forward. So if you are in a standing position, here's where you're going. So you're going to start feeling stretch in that front hamstring right there. Again, you can put your hands on the seat if that feels better. Keep the hips coming down. We want the front part of that leg to stretch. the one that we were stretching on the chair is in back. You come all the way down, press forward. Now you're starting to get back into that hip flexor as well as into that hamstring. Make sure that knee is over the ankle, still pressing the hips down. Find your best place here. I'm going to hold it here for 3 more deep breaths. Exhale is when you let your hips release down. The inhale is when you bring your hips up a little bit to relieve that stretch a bit. Staying whichever position you are, high or low. Now we're going to bring our hips up and back. So we're going to straighten out that front leg. You can keep the foot flat to the floor. That's going to stretch through the front of the shin again. And then at some point you can flex your foot. That's going to get more into the calf muscle. Keep pulling this hip back away from the front heel so you get that nice stretch. So if you're not here on the floor, that's fine. Stay where you are. So you're going to be up a little higher. Your weight's coming onto that back leg. This is where you are now. So if you're standing, hands can be on the back of the chair or they can be on the seat. Get your hips to push back. And the back knee, if it bothers you because it's bent too much, then straighten it out and still come into this forward bent position. Get the back of that leg to get that stretch. If that's really not working for you, if you have foot on the chair and come forward, you could do it that way. Sideways version of it. Right there. Get to that stretch. Again, you can pause this video at any time to get yourself situated and just hang out there for about 5 or 6 deep breaths. That works really, really well. Let's take one more breath in. Exhale, release out. Soften your knee, whichever position you're in. Slowly come back up. Come out of that position, either on knees on the floor or the feet on the floor. We're going to switch to the other side. So we're going to start next with the other leg coming behind us. So if you're on that chair, it comes back. If you're on the floor, you can get onto that knee. If you can uncurl the toes, that works too. Arms coming up, it's stretching away from this leg. So this is my right leg. I have my right knee on the floor. My right arm is reaching up and I'm leaning away, leaning to my left side. Again, if the hip is not pressed forward, you're not going to feel as much stretch. So consider first press forward, maybe lean back a little bit, then reach up, and if you need more, reach over to the opposite side. Again, those hip flexors, bunch of muscles in there, all into the hips, trying to get those to stretch and open up. Take some deep, deep breaths. On the next exhale, let's release. Slowly come back upright. All right, so this is where we're going to get that stretch in the back of the legs. So if you're on your chair, you're going to press, I should say, uncurl your toes first, then press that foot down. If you're standing, hold on to something. Tuck under those toes. Bend your knees enough you can feel that stretch in the top of the foot into your shin. Sometimes we don't notice where we're tight until we start to stretch. And we find it's like, oh. I've had some people ask me, well, how do I stretch my shins? Here you go. Especially when you get shin splints. This is probably one of the better things to do. Along with ice and heat, alternate those to help that muscle tissue in there calm down and heal. Let's take another deep breath. Exhale, let it go. All right, relax that out, shake it out. So now we're going to go into getting that hamstring of the front leg to stretch. So if you're standing up, take your feet apart here, hold on to that chair, the back of the chair, whatever works for you. We're going to start bringing that leg back. Oh, no, we're not. We're going to come forward first, aren't we? Coming forward first. Get that stretch. Get that more hip flexor stretch kind of thing going here. If you come all the way down to the knee, come forward. So So it's a little bit more stretch because now our hips are forward. Before we were up here feeling that stretch. We got it started. Now we're going to continue it. And if you're still here because you can't go hips any further, that's okay. If you have something in front of you or beside you like the chair, use that to help you get forward. Let's take 2 more deep breaths. All right, now we're going to shift it back. So now your front foot can be flat. You can pull those toes back as you stretch back. If you're standing, when you be into this position, rock your hips back to your back leg. Keep your knee bent as much as you need to. Pull the toes towards you. You can even flatten your foot down. But the key is for this leg that's stretching, you want this hip to pull back. Otherwise, your hips kind of swing over to one side and you don't get the same stretch. If you notice that your hips are really off to the side and you have a whole lot of stretch going on, again, go with that stretch that you're in because your body needs it. But you're going to eventually work to get those hips square to the front and pull straight back to get that additional stretch. Again, working from the foot being flexed and the foot being flat on the floor. Keeping the weight off of that leg. Your hand can be high on the thigh, but we don't want the hand on the knee itself. That's why we have our chair here to help support us. Let's take 1 more deep breath. Exhale, let it go, and relax. Come on up. A little shake out. Ooh, hope you're feeling pretty good. Let's stretch out the arms 1 more time. So we're going to use the back of the chair. I'll show you on the floor in just a moment. Make sure that you're aware if you're going to be tipping that chair back to you, because I don't want you to fall with that. So take your feet a comfortable distance apart. You can even stagger your feet one foot in front of the other, and then sink your head down in between the arms. You could do this on your knees if you're okay with the knees. Sink down and away. And then if you want to be in child's pose, take your knees wide, arms stretched out. Elevate your elbows, so elbows off the floor, press the palms of the hands into the floor. Give it 3 more breaths. Again, it's the stretch for the upper back. Just make sure we get that nice and stretched out. Use your inhale to release your stretch. Exhale, get a little bit deeper into it. 1 more time, deep breath in. Exhale, let it go. And relax. All right, come on down to the floor. Hopefully with all the stretching, we're feeling pretty good. Move your chairs out of the way. Pretty good as far as hips being happy and letting us down onto the floor. All right, so let's get to our mats. So we're going to be laying on the back. So work your way onto your back. Hook your knees in, a little rock side to side. Inhale, circle your knees one way. Exhale, circle your knees the other way. Let's see, we have our strap close by. I hope we have it within arm's reach. Let's put that strap underneath 1 foot. Let's go into an inner thigh stretch. So we're going to take the leg out to the side. The other knee, it can be bent or it can be straight. So when you're in this stretch, sometimes it really does help to have something underneath to help support it there. Because that way you can just totally relax the leg. It's not fighting gravity. Take your other arm out to the side. Look out to those fingertips. Let your whole body relax. So soften as much as you can the hip muscle. Just try to get the gripping to relax. Release through your thigh, down through your calf. And then relax through the shoulders. Relax through the neck and the throat. Inhale deeply. Exhale, let go. 2 more, just like that on your own. On your next exhale, bring your head back up to center. Bring this outside arm back in. Soften your knees so you can bring that knee back to your chest. Keep the knee in, keep the other leg straight, and just let your knee go across. You can let go of that strap for a moment. Spinal twist. Just let your spine enjoy that twist. You don't have to go very far. Just go see how far it feels good and just stay there. Other arm out to the side. Look out towards those fingertips. Let your shoulders get nice and heavy and take a deep breath in and out. On your next exhale, bring your head back to center, bring your arm in. Let's bring that knee in. Hold on to that strap one more time. We're going to go across the body for the IT band with a straight leg. So keep the other leg straight. We're going to take this leg across. You have the option to let your toes rotate down to the floor or just whichever direction your leg naturally turns. You don't have to go very far. I want you to stretch from the outside hip down to the outside knee area. So if that means you stretch a little bit or a lot, perfect. It's because it works with your body. Keep this hip down away from the ribs. Don't let it creep up and in. Keep it down and away. And then other arm can reach out again to the side, palm down or up, whichever feels good. Take some deep breaths. On your next exhale, bring the head and the arm back in. Soften this knee, bring it back into the chest. Hug it in, take off the strap. And let's switch to the other foot. Strap goes around it. If you've got something that you're supporting your leg with, go ahead and move it to the other side. Take the leg up, inner thigh stretch. So the leg goes out to the side. Try to get it to rest on whatever object you have there. Trying to keep the hips flat down onto the mat as much as you can. Reach your arm out to the side. Turn your head away from that leg that's stretching. Breathe in and out through your nose. Let that breath travel down to the belly so everything in the body can relax. Start relaxing the gripping of that leg that's stretching. So release it from the buttocks, the thigh, the calf muscle, and then relax each of your shoulders. Relax your throat and your neck. And then let's bring the head back to center. The arm comes in. Soften that knee of that stretching leg. Knee comes back into the chest. Hug it in. Take it across the body for your spinal twist. You can let go of that strap if you like. And once you get to the point where your back is happy with that twist, reach your other arm out. Turn your head away. Nice deep breath in and out. And then on your next inhale, let's open the eyes if they're closed. Bring everything back to center. Bring that knee back in. And let's take that leg straight up. And now we're going to do the IT band. So we're going to take that leg across. Again, it doesn't have to go very far. We're just working on this hip. Keep it away from the ribs as it comes over. So you can have their toe point down. It can be put parallel to the floor. It just depends how this hip likes to react with this stretch. Other arm out to the side. Deep breath in and out. Try to relax the gripping in the hip muscles. Relax through your shoulders. And then slowly bring everything back to center. Hug that knee into the chest. Release that strap away. Bring the other knee to the chest, little rock side to side. Lift your head away from the floor. Rock forward and back along your vertebrae between the tailbone and the shoulder blades. And then release your body down. Let's take the feet to the floor. Knees are together, feet wide to help with the low back. You can take your knees wide, feet together for a reclined butterfly, and you can take your legs straight out and arms out to the sides, or hands on the belly for final resting position. Everyone tuck under your shoulder blades. Take your chin slightly towards your chest. Take an inhale through your nose. Exhale through open mouth like a sigh. Let everything go. And just take a few moments of breathing deep. Pausing at the top of the inhale before you exhale. If you wish to stay here longer, please do. But if you're ready to move into a seated position, just begin to wiggle fingertips and toes, moving arms and legs, rocking through your shoulders and hips. Roll to one side and press yourself up to a comfortable seated position. And keep your eyes closed or open. Sitting nice and tall, relax your shoulders down from the ears. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, let go like a sigh. Let's bring our hands to the sides as we inhale, open the eyes. Lift the arms overhead, palms together to the heart as we exhale. And again, hands to the sides, lifting, gathering energy, vitality, and joy, bringing all these good things to our hearts. And that's our class. Namaste. Thanks for joining me today. Hope you enjoyed that, using the chair as an option. So y'all have a great rest of your evening, and I'll see you soon. Bye.